Good evening, Mishpachim. I have a sefer from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, is Likkutei Sichos, and these are his speeches, his talks, his teachings on Torah, wisdom of the Torah. I am going to read from Torah portion Chayei Sarah, and we are going to begin with Chayei Sarah, letter A. Today's Sidra begins, and Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. According to the Zohar, Sarah is a symbol for the body, while Abraham is a symbol for the soul. In this context, the Zohar interprets the verse as follows. The phrase, and Sarah died, means when the body dies. In Kiryat Arba, the city of the four, refers to the four elements which compose the body, which is in Hebron. Refers to the fact that throughout the body's life, its four elements were joined together, mechuber. Now, when the body dies and Abraham came, the soul came, to lament Sarah and to weep for her. The soul weeps, for even after death, even after its departure, the soul still remains related to the body. This interpretation of Sarah as the body and Abraham as the soul, however, makes it difficult to understand the verse. All that Sarah may say unto you, listen to her voice. There's a well-known comment of the Baal Shem Tov on the verse. When you see a donkey of your enemy lying under his burden, when you see the chamer, donkey, when you consider your chomer, matter, you will note that it is your enemy. For in the initial stages of man's avoda, at the very beginning of life, body and soul are enemies to one another, lying under his burden. Burden refers to the yoke of Torah and the mitzvot. It is his burden because the mitzvot were given expressly to souls vested in bodies in order to purify and sublimate the body. Even so, the body regards it as an unwanted burden and thus is lying under his burden. The mitzvot are given only to the souls and bodies. Moreover, the mitzvot themselves, too, are vested in material objects. This applies not only to mitzvot, ma'asiyot, mitzvot involving a physical act, but also to those mitzvot which are essentially duties of the heart. Love and fear of God, or duties of the mind, the belief in the unity of God. The latter, too, are meant to be fulfilled by the physical heart and brain. Take, for example, the precept of love God. In the realm of the physical, we note that a good tiding fattens the bones, as in the incident related by the Gemara of a good tiding causing a physical change. The same is true regarding the love of God. When man perceives that the closeness of God is good for me, this must be noticeable in his body as well. Similarly, with awe before God, a mere contraction in the mind or heart is insufficient. It must be manifest in the physical brain and heart and that he is truly afraid. Our Nesi'im have shown us everything, including this principle. There is a well-known story of the Alter Rebbe. Once in the midst of prayer on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, when coming to the words, and therefore put pachdecha, your dread, he fell to the ground, rolling to and fro, saying, Pach, Pach. His concentration on this passage filled him with a crippling fear which prevented him from completing the word. It was some time before he was able to pronounce the whole word, Pachdecha. There is another story of the Tzemach Tzedek. In the early years of his leadership, he once sat at a farbrengen with Hasidim. Some kavit 90-proof vodka was brought in, and the Rebbe drank a whole glass, then another, and ordered that a third be poured. Afterwards he moved his hand over his forehead, and one could no longer detect any effects of the liquor. At a later occasion, the Tzemach Tzedek explained that he had concentrated his thoughts on the greatness of God. This contemplation caused a great fear to befall him, and fear counteracts the effects of strong wine. This fear thus had such an effect on him that one could perceive a real physical change as any alcoholic influence was removed. It is likewise with the concept of love. Thus it is said of Rabbi Menachem of Chernobyl that he became obese from reciting Chayei Shmei Rabbah. That is, he would meditate on the Shmei Rabbah, his great name, and the greatness of the eternal, how God is blessed forever and ever. Divinity is drawn into all worlds, including this physical world of action, Asiya. This meditation filled him with such a delightful love for God that it caused physical obesity. The Baal Shem Tov's interpretation of the verse, "When you see the donkey," continues, "Will you refrain from helping him? Since the body is lying under his burden, one might consider devoting all attention to an avoda relating to the soul exclusively, and crushing the body by means of fasts and mortifications. The Torah therefore concludes, and you shall surely aid him, the body, because the body needs to be purified and sublimated." It is conceivable to intend all the kavanot of a mitzvah, and yet not fulfill the actual mitzvah in fact. For example, one may go through all the devotions relating to tefillin without actually donning the tefillin. Obviously, that would constitute not only a failure in fulfilling the mitzvah, but an actual transgression by negating the mitzvah of tefillin. On the other hand, if one were to don the tefillin but did not intend any of the devotions for reasons of ignorance or simply failing to do so, then he is liable to penalty because he should have had the devotions in mind, but he has had fulfilled the mitzvah. A story is told about the circumcision of one of the grandchildren of the Tzemach Tzedek, where there was a choice between two mohelim, circumcisers, an older man familiar with the writings of the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, at least with those on the subject of circumcision, and a younger man known as an expert but not as learned. The Tzemach Tzedek's advice was to choose the younger man, and he explained that the requirement of the Torah is for the physical circumcision. Now this is the simple meaning of all that Sarah may say to you. Listen to her voice in the context of the Zohar's interpretation of Sarah as a symbol for the body. Our ultimate preoccupation is with the body. Presently, this is not apparent, but in the Messianic era, this will become obvious to the point that the soul will draw vitality from the body. It is said of the patriarchs that the Holy One, blessed is He, gave them a foretaste of the future world while they were still in this world. And that is why Abraham was told, all that Sarah may say to you, listen to her voice. And I will stop there. And that was a Likkutei portion of the Likkutei Sichos by the Lubavitcher Rebbe.